Well, last night on Big Brother, we saw the exit of a very well and much loved housemate, Sarah. She was the people's princess. Had she been left to the finale, I'm pretty sure she would have been a shoo-in for the 250,000 or what is left after Kieran snatched some of that cash. Last night, we saw Sarah evicted, and this is how it went down.
Matt, you received 1 vote. Sarah, you received 2 votes.
You voted me out?
Which means, unfortunately, Sarah, you are the 16th housemate to leave the Big Brother house.
Wait, that means you voted for me as well.
I'm sorry. Thanks for inspiring. You go out and you get a golden retriever and you never let it go, okay?
Yeah.
Ever. Ever.
Okay, goodbye.
See you, Sarah. See you, Sarah. You're the best. Yeah.
Look, in the words of Pretty Woman, big mistake, huge bet at those boys. It's a massive mistake. Sarah, thank you so much for being able to join us on the show, on the Ben Robin Robbo show this afternoon.
Thank you for having me.
Fan of your gameplay, and what a gameplay it was.
Oh gosh, I feel like I definitely the show isn't really showing how much of a strategist I was. They aren't really showing my strategy and how much I actually thought about the game. So a lot of the audience are thinking that I'm just floating, but I mean, I had a 1 in 20 chance of $250,000. I was fighting till the end. I want the money.
I honestly, I felt that from you, and I really enjoyed your gameplay. I think I mostly saw it in some of the looks that you had when you were negotiating with people. And I think the question I have for you was, did you find yourself in the role of being able to play teams off each other, or was that something you put yourself into?
Well, going into the house, knowing that I would be the youngest, I really wanted to utilize that. I wanted to be everyone's younger little sister that they felt the need to protect. And I think that's the reason why I went, 35 days without even being put up for nomination. And with my strategy, it allowed me to jump from group to group, and it made me, be in every single social dynamic. It made me be in every single social alliance. And I purposely placed myself that way because I knew, being the youngest, I wouldn't be the leader of any group. I wouldn't be able to call the shots. No one would really listen to me. I had to plant ideas everywhere. And that's how I survived as long as I did.
Well, you survived, which is amazing. You had a lot of people talking right at the start of the show about your previous relationship or knowledge of Hannah before she went into the show. Now, do you think, like a lot of Australia did, that was your ticket into the show, was the way in which you had reacted to Hannah throughout the auditions?
I think it might have been, actually, because they didn't show, but in our audition, I actually snapped at her a bit because in our audition, she got asked the question who she would put up for eviction in the room, and she automatically said my name. And I was very frustrated. I had such a long day. I was waiting in the waiting room for about 9 hours before they actually called me in, when Hannah only had to wait for about an hour. So I was frustrated in itself. And when I heard that she would put me up for eviction, I stood forward and I said, how dare you? You need to think about your game if you're going to be going into a house like this. Why would you put me? I was pretty feisty that day, but lo and behold, a couple of days after Hannah arrived, her and I actually became really good friends. I admitted everything. We had a big heart-to-heart in the diary room as well, and we both cried. And I'm surprised they didn't show that as well. I'm pretty surprised because it was a very heartwarming moment, because I went to everyone and I said that was my bad. That was my mistake. I judged it too soon.
Well, I think it was one of the best things that you did on the show, because it was one of the first real moments that we really got to see from a housemate. And that was you basically deciding or making a decision to go against Talia. Now, Talia was perceived by the general public to be maybe the more dominant personality type, but you took charge. And you didn't take what Talia had said. You went with your own narrative. Is that something that, you do in real life, or was that a part of gameplay?
Yeah, so definitely in my normal everyday life, I'm much more stubborn, I'm much more opinionated, I'm much more outspoken and loud, and I knew that I had to dull that down a bit to be able to survive in the house. So when I won the eviction, I knew that my non-negotiable would have been Hannah, and it's because I felt threatened. I had reason to dislike her, and everyone in the house could also you know, they could they could appreciate that as well, because I had reasoning, whereas Talia didn't really. Talia judged her straight off the bat when I already knew about Hannah, and Hannah did me wrong earlier on in the audition. So, like, yeah, it's a bit of a mess, but in everyday life, I'm much more opinionated and I like to have it my way much more. But yeah, in the house, I was happy to take a step back and for all the repercussions to land on Talia.
Well, I played it out really well. Do you know what I also really liked about you was that you became like the voice of the people, because you could read people really well, which, you know, came across beautifully to the people watching from home. Was there anyone in the show who you didn't? I'm kind of leading with this because, you know, your demise meant that you were a little bit shocked. But was there anyone that really shocked you since the show has been, you know, has come to an end, has been really different?
Yes, there has been a couple people that have completely changed who they are, and I expected that. You know, when you go into a game that's for $250,000, people are going to act. You know, I wasn't exactly myself in that house. Like, I feel like I showed who I authentically was, but that was a watered down version of what I am, and that's what I did to survive. But some of those people in the house, you know, they have been straight up different on the outside world, and that kind of is a bit of a shock to me, because, you know, they were like my family in the house. You know, maybe it's young, naive me thinking, but I genuinely thought I'd be friends with some of these people for the rest of my life. But some of them were very early to prove me wrong once I left. So, yeah.
Sarah, I have to ask you, because it would be remiss of me, but we want names, we want blood. Who are the people that are the most different?
I feel like, if I'm being honest, I reckon maybe Chad is a bit different than what he was in the house. In the house, he was very much like, oh, my little Care Bear, my little younger sister. And he really, you know, he was really my older brother in that house. But now that I'm out, you know, he's a bit more distant. I feel like he's got his own road that he wants to go down after this series ends. And unfortunately, if none of our housemates are going to be in his life after that, then that's up to him, because we've all given him that effort. But same with even someone like Garth, for example. Like, Garth in that house was so much more different than what he's now proving to be on the outside world. And, like, I don't know if I exactly appreciate that, but did I expect it? A little bit. Like, I'm not too surprised. But yeah, I just wish that people kind of put in more of an effort to stay more authentic after this experience.
Well, I think that have absolutely given us the answer by saying Chad's a bit of a player, and, you know, a male model, a player. Oh my goodness, you know, who would have expected that? You know, come on.
I know.
But you know, with Garth, what did he do? What has he done to? What's his significant changes in his personality type now that he's on the outside?
I don't think it's exactly like he's changed his personality in a sense, but I feel like now that he's on the outside world, and maybe it's because he left the house in a very rough way. You know, I couldn't imagine be completely blindsided when that's how he left the house, unfortunately. But now that he's on the outside world, and now we're talking about the finale, you know, like, he wants blood, he wants revenge, he wants, you know, he wants that big blow up. And, you know, I didn't expect that from him in the house, because, you know, I thought we're all adults, you know, like, there's going to be blind sides here and there. Like, sometimes you got to just cop it on the chin and congratulate the final three for lasting that long.
Oh, look, 100%. Now,
yeah.
This is the $1 million question I've got for you, Sarah, and you've probably been asked by the media, but we want you to tell us, will Chad and Sophie stay together?
I think that's a bit of a hard one, just because, you know, I reckon their feelings in the house were very authentic, because they were very raw as well. When you're in that house, as you would know, like, you need someone as emotional support. You know, it's a really tough experience. And so I feel like their emotions towards each other in the house were completely authentic and genuine. But obviously, being on the outside world, it's completely different. They've got completely different careers. They live on other sides of Australia. Sophie lives in the Netherlands as well half the time. So I don't know if it will last in a, you know, once you're actually thinking about it logically, I don't know if it will last. But, I mean, it's up to them to give it a crack. I give them all props to it. Like, you know, Sophie's one of my bestest friends, so she only deserves the most happiness. And, yeah. Good luck.
Well, Sarah, you are the people's princess is how I've seen you being referred to on social media. Had you made it to the finale, I think everyone, Sportsbet, everybody would have just handed you the 250,000. You played the best game as far as I'm concerned. A little bit disappointing you're out of the competition at this stage, I must admit, but I wish you all the best of luck. You know,
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I was very much Switzerland.
You were, but in a good way, because sometimes fence sitters bore the shit out of me, but you were fantastic, you were engaging, and you did a brilliant job, so you should be very proud of yourself.
Thank you for that. It means a lot to me because I watched your series when I was only 12 years old, and, you know, I really looked up to you, so it genuinely means a lot. Thank you.
Oh, wow. I'm sure that the guys from here at the Ben, Rob and Robbo show, advice would be, if you're taking advice from Ben, rip it up and start again.
Okay, noted.
No, you were brilliant. Thanks so much. Thanks
For that.
It's a Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo, Ben, Rob and Robbo show.